guys had a great Thanksgiving. This is the Juicebox Heroes podcast, and we're live again. I'm here always with the fan club president of Mr. Dubon's favorite fan, Chris. Bryles is with us on the eve of the big game tomorrow evening. Bryles, how's your Thanksgiving, sir?
Fantastic. I hope you guys had a wonderful Thanksgiving yesterday. Looking forward to some good college football today. Got college football tomorrow, which is going to be nice. But hey, we're here to talk about baseball, so I can't wait to get into a little bit of Astros conversation post Turkey Day and go from there. Chris, how you doing?
Oh man, it's been a busy day yesterday. Got back from Disney, survived that without having to lose my mind too much. Like I said, like PK said, I hope everybody had a fantastic Thanksgiving. It's Black Friday, and I am very, very excited to not be one of the millions of people outside running to about 50 different stores today. My Black Friday shopping will be here, and whenever it gets here today. So there you go.
Yeah, cool, man. It was we had a good Thanksgiving yesterday. It was pretty uneventful. We were down on the island I hung out down there, and it was cool. It was running nice and chill, and then left with a lot of leftovers. So that's what's on the menu today, which is even better. And before we get into baseball, like tomorrow, we got some ribs going, some wings.
There you go.
Cornhole, ping pong,
Very nice.
getting ready for the big game tomorrow evening. But that's a side thing.
Yeah, tomorrow's definitely the big event tomorrow.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
War games. Pretty excited about that.
Sweet, bro. But hey, this is let's get into some Astro stuff. I mean, it's still relatively quiet. Now they're starting a little bit of league news as far as Juan Soto and some reports out there. Still really early, but things are starting to heat up a little bit. So
yeah, the word on the street is that it looks like Boston's going to be, from what I'm hearing, and again, I hear things through one person, so it looks like the word on the street, again, don't take it for what it is, but the word on the street is that Soto is in a verbal agreement with the Red Sox, and the details, like, it won't be official for probably a couple weeks, but again, that's the word on the street. So
Yeah, I saw some crazy numbers out there. I think the craziest one I saw that they were leaking for Soto was 11 years and $600 million, which I don't think he's worth that much by any stretch of the means. But hey, if Boston wants to pay that, be my guest.
I mean, you say that though, but Shohei got 700, and Soto's about 3 years younger than he is.
Put Soto on the mound, and if he can throw Cy Young quality pitches, then sure, I can. Then I can justify it. But
let me ask you this: what was Shohei's pitching stats this past season?
Well, he couldn't pitch, so
all right, fair enough.
So, yeah,
but 11 years puts him at what, 35, 36?
36.
Well, he's still only 21, right?
Like, what? How old is that guy? Like 23 or 2 or 1 or.
I think he's 25. I think that's the official age.
Okay, so 11 years, like,
that's not a bad contract.
I think that's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, because you're probably, out of those 11, you're probably going to get max one
7
for about 7 or 8.
7 years, right?
And then
that's fair.
Yeah, I mean, so that's not.
And then he's got like a 290-foot porch down the right field line.
Yeah,
like he's going to be mashing bombs over there.
Well, and if you think about it, like if you get 7 good years out of him, the last 4 could be DH. So, I mean, yeah, actually, now that we are talking about it, I guess $600 million for 11 years doesn't sound insane.
But it only doesn't sound insane because of his age. That's the kicker, right? It's the age of the player. If you're talking about a 28-year-old, 29-year-old getting 11 years, you're like, come on, man. Like, you're going to get 5 good years out of that contract, 6 years, maybe 5 years. This kid's 24 and has been dominating essentially since he came up, 4 years ago. So, yeah. I mean, look, I really could give 2 shits where Soto goes. If it all holds true, and he goes to Boston, I think it's a win just because I hate the Yankees and it's
Well, you say that, but is it really a win? Because if he does sign with Boston, right, that means I would think now. Oh,
we
I
got
had
an
it on pause.
earthquake in League
I think
City,
so.
just at your house.
Yeah. But then I would assume, which is dangerous, that would make the Yankees go all in on Bregman. So the rumored thing, what was it like? The rumored contract that we offered Bregman was what, 6 years, 180 something.
Mm-hmm.
185. Yeah.
Yankees will pass that shit up in a second.
I mean,
Well,
you're
the
not
Yankees
lying.
will go. Yeah, the Yankees will try to go 10, which I
Yeah.
mean, and to PK's point, it's like, Soto obviously being young, a 10 or 11 year contract doesn't, really hurt you that much. But if you're going 10 years on Bregman, that's a different story. That puts him up around that 40-year-old Albert Pujols, just the end of his career, man, was so bad. And I don't want to,
Yeah.
I don't want to see Bregman get into that position by any means. I mean, and the other thing is, if we tried to match that, we couldn't even do that. I mean, you're just going to be paying him to do what for his last 3 years? Because your Jordan's going to be your DH basically for his entire career, the way we're looking at it right now. So it's, if you keep both those guys and Jordan's rolling out of bed and hitting dingers every day, why would we, there's no like backup for Bregman to actually slide into that DH spot for like his last 3-4 years. And that's assuming he can still hit above league average in a DH spot at that age, which I don't know if he can. We'll see. But I agree with both of you. I think the Yankees would pass up any offer that we could possibly put out there if indeed they do lose out on the whole Soto deal.
And I keep seeing stuff about the Phillies and like shopping Bohm, Alec Bohm, and the Phillies being a potential landing spot. For the Astros for Bregman. Have y'all seen any of that?
I've seen things here and there about Astros kicking the tires on seeing what the price for Bohm would be. I mean, but like again, the only scenario I see the Phillies trading him is if they get Bregman. I mean, so
Right.
they can't. I don't, like I said, I'm not real familiar with their minor league system, so I don't know if they just went off and traded Bohm, who they would plug in at third base.
Well, and then like why? My thing is why are you trying to move him? Because like the dude was coming off of a career year this year. They got his first All Star appearance. I mean, it was crushing, and then he got hurt for a minute. So it's just kind of odd, just the fact that story was out there as far as why are you shopping? He's young. He's young. Like, why are you shopping this kid? Like, what's the reason behind that? So, definitely some things to keep an eye on going forward. We have the other big MLB news. We have Blake Snell
Oh, yeah.
signed with the Dodgers, another deferred contract. Um, and I saw something on Twitter that was saying that was kind of addressed specifically to Dodger fans, in that like don't be surprised that future parking is gonna be like $500 because all these deferred contracts, it all comes back to the ticket payer, right? The customers are end up paying for. So, I'm not really, I don't really know where I stand on the deferred contracts. I mean, it's good in the short term, like $1 million, right, to play. But it could cripple your. LA is different and New York's different because they have like endless bank accounts. Like these smaller market teams will never be able to do a deferred deferred contract situation because it's going to cripple them in the future. So, what are y'all's thoughts on the deferred payment stuff? And like I said, I know it's hard to do it with LA because they're so deep with the pockets in New York. So it's almost like they are definitely on their own level of being able to do that. But it almost creates an unfair advantage, like it's been for kind of a minute. So what are your thoughts on it?
Well, I mean, I definitely see both sides of the spectrum, right? I mean, I understand, like people saying, "Oh, it's terrible for baseball," but on the flip side, it's like every other team has the ability to do this, right? I mean, I guarantee you, all 30 of the MLB owners are making hand over fist money. But I mean, like I said, you also have to think, you don't become a billionaire by blowing your money on, stuff. So, I mean, I get it, but at the end of the day, I mean, like any team can be doing this. I mean, we saw the Brewers do it, what, 2 or 3 years ago with Christian Yelich. They signed him on a deal. He's only making like 20 something million, which we say that. But in baseball money nowadays, that's kind of a good deal.
Yeah.
And he's making like, I guess, like for additional like 10 years after the life of the contract, he's making like another 2 to 3 million. Basically the Bobby Bonilla deal. So again, it's just a matter of, the payroll you have, right? I mean, like you're not going to see Tampa go after Juan Soto and say, "Hey, we'll give you 20 million for 10 years and then we'll give you another 10 for another 20 after that," because that's going to bank. I mean, they're a small market team. I don't see why the Astros couldn't do that. I mean, but again, you have to look at, the every owner decides what their budget is going to be, right? Because there is no cap, there is no hard cap in baseball like there is football and I think basketball too. So like, they did implement the luxury taxes, but that really only affects 2 or 3 teams, maybe four, maybe five, right? The Pirates aren't going to go into that second tier of luxury tax, mainly because they're it seems like they're constantly rebuilding. But like I feel like if you're the Astros, right, and if Crane is going to live up to this moniker of as long as I own the team where the window's always open, then you have to start getting more creative with your deals. I mean, because you have to look at the state of the team now versus where it's going to be in, let's say, 6 years, right? In 6 years, Tucker will be gone, Fromber will be gone, Altuve probably retired, right? Because his deal was for 5. You're probably re-signing Jordan, or maybe he's gone. So you look at this like wave of talent, like there's not like this isn't 2014 where we should have the top farm system in the majors where we can say, okay, Fromber's cool story. We got this kid who's the number 3 prospect in baseball. Here's a guy that we're going to build around. So you kind of have to look at it, the windows now. I mean, literally for these next probably 3 to 4 years. If they're going to do it, now's the time to do it to where, like when you have this lull of like talent, right? Because I mean, everything's a cycle, right? I mean, like, because we used to praise the Dodgers for this fantastic farm system, but they didn't win. I mean, name one guy. There's only like, I think maybe 1 or 2, maybe 3 guys on that roster that was homegrown off of this amazing, you know, minor league system. So it's just a matter of really getting lucky, is what it is. But yeah, I
Yeah.
think other teams can do the same. Go ahead, Ross.
Yeah, no, I think it's luck too, especially when you look at their farm system and everything that was going on. Because I mean, you're right; they bought this last World Series the way, if you want to look at it that way, and then the previous 5 years to that, they made the playoffs. But at the same time, I mean, the Dodgers were knocked out in the first round. I mean, by a handful of teams. So you're right. You can have the best farm system in all of baseball, but what good does it do you if you can't, get to the World Series? So I see that. And to going back to the deferment part, my question with like the Dodgers and to what you were saying, Chris, is like, not every team can do something like this. Any team can physically do it, but at the same time, do they have the pockets to do it? And it's what are the Dodgers going to do in 10 years or 11 years or 12 years when that Shohei money comes up, when the Snell money comes up? I mean, are they still going to be trying to go after, top tier talent and pay top dollar for it when they're trying to shell out what at this point, like $700 million that they're just going to have, on their balance sheet? So, I don't know. I'm glad the Astros aren't doing something crazy like that because I want to see competitive baseball, for the rest of my life. I don't want to get into this like 20 years down the road and then all of a sudden the Astros are unwatchable because they're paying contracts, from, the 2020s. So that's the way I feel about it. But at the same time, what do you do? I just wish MLB would come out and say, hey, look, here's the deal with deferred contracts. Here's the rule. Anybody can do it, but or they can say, hey, look, you can do it, but here's the parameters on the way you can make it work. So I just wish that there was something out there that kind of defined a little bit more of how these contracts work. So it's kind of a more even playing field for all of the teams, because I think what we're about to run into, which we're already seeing, is you're going to see the teams that have a whole lot of money to spend are going to be the ones that are good. And then you're going to have some terrible, terrible baseball teams.
Yeah, I mean, it's Bros. I just you're talking about fair play, and the Astros being unwatchable. I just go back to those consecutive 100-loss seasons and thinking about like what a piss poor product was on the field, during that time. But obviously we turned it around. But yes, I mean, it's just like the rich continue to get richer, right? And that's just how it is. I mean, that's how New York does it. That's how Boston, the Cubs, right? LA. I mean, be interesting to see what what's going to happen with these deferred contracts. I did see another thing on Twitter that I didn't know this, but aside from the New York Met deferred contract for Bonilla, he also has one from the Orioles until 2029, like 500,000 or something a year. So he gets what?
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either. And I just saw it. I don't know, a couple of days ago. That dude's got 2 deferred contracts. So I know that's the first one that I knew about until the Ohtani thing. But it would be interesting to see if the precedent for these big players, if it starts, this deferred contract, nonsense and how it reshapes everything. But we got a little bit of Astros news now that we kind of covered the broad overview of the league. Not specifically to the Astros, but our friend, me and Brawl's friend, Kikuchi, did sign with the Angels, 3 years, $63 million. So have fun losing over there. You can thank the Astros for getting you paid. Now the question becomes: did we lose the trade?
No.
Right? He didn't. He didn't pitch in the World Series. He didn't pitch in the postseason. So, cool that we got. And it's not because we got rid of Loperfido and Bloss and
Wagner.
I mean, this is why at the time, prior to the success that he had for us in this 2 months, is why I don't like these rental trades, because not because of Loperfido, not because of Wagner, not because of Bloss. I mean, Bloss was probably the highest ranking one, I think, right? Prospect out of those 3.
Yeah.
But you give up what little talent you have in your farm system to acquire a pitcher who, I will say, of course, based on how much crow I had to eat, was a fantastic move for us, given his rental time. But now you've given up a prospect that's one of your best ones, right? All for a guy to come wear your uniform for a month and a half just so he can go and get paid somewhere else. Now, I'm not saying that we should have paid him 3 years, $63 million, right? He was very successful for us in the time that we had him, but you didn't see him pitch in the postseason. What was the point of that, right? I mean, granted, you weren't expecting to lose 2 games, to Detroit. You were expecting him to pitch in the divisional. Chris, clearly his answer is no, we didn't lose the trade, so that takes care of that segue. Bryles, what is yours? What's your thought on that? And then we'll go back to Chris.
Well, did we lose the trade? I don't think we did either. But at the same time, I know the Astros did make a contract offer to him, and then LA just came over the top. So it would have been nice to keep him in the rotation. Don't get me wrong, because he pitched fantastically for us. As you mentioned, we've eaten quite a bit of crow on that whole trade. But and to what Chris has been saying, in the past, it's like, you've got Bloss, you've got Loperfido. I mean, both those guys, you don't know what they're going to turn into. So they didn't go to LA, to Toronto and then just tear it up. And all of a sudden, we're like, oh man, I wish we would have held on to these guys. So we've got money to spend elsewhere. And we've said this 100 times. It's not our money. It's not our team. We're just fans. But at the same time, if we're looking at, if there's a budget, where's that budget going to be spent? We need to spend it at third base, first base, outfield, and, maybe some pitching somewhere in there as well. But if they're going to have that big contract, yeah, let LA go eat it and have fun Kikuchi losing and playing in Anaheim. So I think money better spent at those other positions is what I'm looking at. And, I said this a couple weeks ago, but we've got a ton of pitching talent that's supposedly coming off the IL for next season. Now, that's not a guarantee, and there's no guarantee how they're going to perform once they're off the IL. So I don't really see that as a huge loss.
Not Mr. Negative.
Actually, I'm positive. I'm positive. No, it's definitely not. We did not lose that trade. That trade was not a bust. Why? Because Kikuchi ended up being probably that I can remember, probably one of your top 3 trade deadline accusations in the last 30 years, right? And I would put that up with Carlos Beltran in 2004. I'd put that up with when we traded for Randy Johnson. I mean, you couldn't have asked this guy to do anything more. What was he? He won it. Well, the Astros won every single start that he pitched, every single one, right? You acquired a Kikuchi to give your pitching that extra boost to get to the playoffs. Check, right? Now, we have no control that Espada did not pitch him in any of those 2 games. And I get, PK, where you're coming from. It's always a gamble to trade for these guys that, are rentals, potentially lose them. And to echo what Briles said, it's not like, Wagner he got off to a fast start and then he just petered off. And then and spoiler alert, he got hurt again, right? Bloss came up for a start and went right back down to AAA. So that goes to show you that these guys, as much as everybody wants to bitch and complain online, but, we traded Joey for this. Yeah, I get it, but, it's not like Joey. He had fantastic defensive plays. He hit the ball. But he didn't blow Jake Myers out of the water. Honestly, in my opinion, prospect wise, I'd have Leon and God, I'm blanking his name, Melton, way above him on the prospect rankings. So we get it. He came up. Everybody fell in love with him. He had his Astros version of Linsanity for a few weeks, and then he got traded. So I don't think we lost the trade. Kikuchi did exactly what you actually. He probably gave you more than what you expected.
No, I would say he gave you more. I think it's just the fact that I just hate you're left holding the bag, right? Like you give up, but again, it has nothing to do with the actual names like Loperfido, Wagner, and Bloss, right? Like I'm not heartbroken at the fact that we got rid of him. It sucked, right? Because he was turning into a fan favorite. Loperfido was, right? But Riles was right. Like they didn't go crush it up there in Toronto, so it's not like it's a damn man. We gave up this guy, but this guy Kikuchi did exactly what we were hoping he was going to. You just want to see more of it, right? And so you give away whatever little talent you have for a rental, and then you essentially get that rental paid to go somewhere else, right? Again, I don't really, it just sucks. I just hate rentals. The Beltran thing, I think, if we go back to 04, I think like most Houston fans at that time were like probably in denial in the fact that he was ever going to really re-sign here, right? Because New York was just going to throw stupid money at him. It's just, it's just a massive deal based on the postseason he had. He was going to command stupid money, which he got, right? So, and the Randy Johnson thing, I think it's still wild to this day the fact that they pulled that off and they got him, and it's just
and how old is Kikuchi too? Because isn't he like 34, 35?
30 something, mid 30s, right? Early 30s. So it's not like he's some. Yeah, I think you knew towards the end of the season who you could count on to pitch for us, right? And that was Hunter Brown, and that was Kikuchi, right? Like Fromber was good until he got to the postseason, then became postseason Fromber, right? But I think with the fact of my hatred for the actual deal at the moment, and then the strikeout song that they played for him, and how good he was, and how good he was for us, it was just like, man, like I was kind of hoping that we would actually be able to retain him. Doesn't even bother me that he's going to a division foe. It's Anaheim. They know how to lose, so
they have losing down.
Yeah. So it's all good. I mean, it just sucks. It's another thing, but Browse, you're right. Like there's other places on the diamond that are of more importance. C, third base, first base, outfield, probably in that order, right? So, I don't know if you guys saw some of the. I'm sure y'all did the tweets from Astros Twitter about Jake the Rake, or he Jake raked all year long. I don't know if y'all read any of the comments about. If y'all read any of the comments? I mean,
No.
I don't
No.
want to be negative Nancy on it, but they were asking what Jake Myers were you seeing? He only raked the batter's box dirt. I mean, it was some good shit, but it's just there's so many holes that we have to fix, right? I mean, I don't think anything. You have to first figure out Bregman, right? Whether he's going to come back or if he's going
That's
to
got to be priority one.
that's number one, right? I mean, it's that big of a deal. So because that kind of sets in motion the rest of your offseason and your plans. Because now, hopefully, these guys have a backup plan. I would assume they would, but they also didn't have a backup plan for the starting pitching and the injuries in spring training. So we'll see what really goes into motion once Bregman signs, whether it's here or somewhere else. I mean, that's going to be from a fan perspective. If I'm being negative Nancy and Bregman signs somewhere else, from our podcast perspective, it's going to be entertaining because now we're like, what the hell are they going to do? Now we're looking at everything on top of being pissed off at the fact that Bregman's not here anymore. So let's hope for the fact that Bregman gets signed, re-signs us with us and comes back, and then we can focus our efforts on first base and what in the hell we're going to do with the outfield. So
Yeah, and to wrap up the Kikuchi signing, I mean, I'm okay with the Astros not giving him 3 years,
yeah,
right? I mean, so if like I said, if the Angels want to give him that third year, and that's 21 million. So we can't afford to have another guy that's 37, 38 making 20 million that's just getting lit up. So silver lining, I'm okay with them not giving him the third year. So and then yeah, if Bregman signs somewhere else, I mean, all I'm gonna say is this: like, I don't want to be negative Nancy, right? But I honestly think that if this Soto rumor is true and he's going to Boston, you can pretty much. I would at that point expect Bregman to not stay here. I mean, because let's be honest. I mean, as much as I would love to see him say, you know what, my career, I want to retire an Astro. I'll do the 5 year, 180, whatever it is. Man, if New York throws him 7 years or 8 years, I mean, like at that point, like I think if you're the Astros, you have to kind of give yourself a deadline and say, okay, if Bregman doesn't do this by sign or give us something by maybe the 10th, then we're going into the winter meetings looking to spend money. That's kind of what I would do because you can't wait around this entire offseason.
while everybody else gets signed.
Yeah, because then you do that, and then all these guys, because there's still a handful of decent names out there outside of they somehow Myers and McCormick got contracts. I mean, but you're telling me you couldn't go get Kike Hernandez for 3 million, and that would basically cancel out Chaz McCormick. I
Man,
like Jake Myers. Yeah, I mean, and again, so that opens up a spot, so your outfield could be. I mean, you still have Dubon too, but you can have Leon come up and be your everyday left fielder, and Jake Myers defensively, he's your guy that you bring in the seventh inning, and he's kind of like your defensive closer. But yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to do because I like to see what trades they could try to pull off. That's what I'd like to see, and you know, I guess to wrap everything up, yeah, it all depends on what Bregman does. Because if they resign Bregman, now in my opinion, Bryce Matthews is expendable, and that'll get you a decent player back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. But the one thing that scares me on the whole Bregman contract like situation we've got is all of the articles I keep reading, and it makes sense because of what Boris has done in the past. Is he's going to sign late, so like you were saying, Chris, I mean, what are we going to do? We're going to head into the winter meetings, and not still have a third baseman, and Bregman's still going to be like, well, don't know what I'm going to do. So if he ends up signing late, I think that's going to put us in a very awkward position. I think we're going to have money to spend, but they're going to be afraid to spend it. I've seen plenty of articles and different stuff, especially on Bleacher Report, about how we've been connected to Pete Alonso. I would like to have Pete Alonso at first base. Don't get me wrong, but we can't have Pete Alonso and Bregman. I'm assuming just from a money aspect, unless they're going to do something crazy like we were talking about, deferred contracts and stuff like that. So, but what if he's still out there and Bregman still hasn't figured out what he's going to do? Are we going to pass Alonso up to hope that we get Bregman back? Or I don't know. I think it's going to be a very tough situation that Dana Brown's going to be in, and he pretty much has to play this perfectly, or he's going to be out the door in about a year, maybe two.
Well, I mean, there's also been a lot of interesting names too. I mean, but to go back to Boris real quick, I would like to think, I mean, look how quickly Blake Snell signed. He was one of the last people to sign last offseason. I would like to think that Boris learned his lesson about these guys, waiting until February, early March to sign. I mean, like I said, Snell's already signed. But there has been stuff that is still available and on the table. I mean, so you could, first base. I know a lot of people have their ups and downs about this. I mean, but there's still Goldschmidt out there. You can decide if you can get him on a 1-year deal, maybe $8 million, right? Then now you have a starting first baseman. Now, from what I'm reading, also is that the Cardinals are looking to shop Nolan Arenado.
Yeah,
and Nolan Arenado also said he's willing to play first base as well. So that's the kind of trade that you make. I think he's got a couple years now. Granted, he's making big money, but that's the kind of a trade that you make that, say the price tag isn't going to be super duper high because the Cardinals are looking to offload that contract. So there's another option that you can go. You can go Nolan Arenado for 2 years, maybe 3 years, however many is left on his contract. And I would say if you can pull off that trade, and let's say you don't go get Goldschmidt, you still go triple platoon of Caratini and Singleton. That's not a bad, compilation price. I would take Arenado for 2 or 3 years. You're not locked down. That gives you a chance to really get a good look at, Bryce Matthews. You don't have to rush him up. You let him just develop. Even if you call him up at 25, I'm good with that. So there's options out there, and I'm not talking about options where you have to like bleed your farm system to get this, A+, star. I mean, but like, I don't think that would be as much of a downgrade if you went out there and kicked the tires and went to go get Nolan Arenado. That might cost you Bryce Matthews, whatever, right? I mean, right now there's one guy that's untradeable, and it's your only top 100 prospect, and that's Jacob Melton. That's it. Everybody else, in my opinion, are on the table.
Good job, GM. I like it.
Thanks. I'm here all day.
Now let Dana Brown know that whenever you see him at dinner tonight.
I will.
Right.
Hey, Papa Brown, I did your job for you.
I saw something else on Twitter about some conversations with JV.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Yeah,
it was like 2 years for $44 million or something that.
Yes.
Stop it.
That's what I'm saying. And I responded back to the person that posted it, one of the local guys, and I was just like, look, man, like JV's a GOAT, will always be a GOAT here in Houston for what he did, for what he helped out with, but it's time to move on. It's just time. You're gonna pay this dude. You're gonna overpay and for what, 5 innings a game. If he doesn't get hurt, like let him go back to Detroit, finish up where he started. Like thank you to everything he's done for us. Like honestly, like truly, but it's time just to move on.
Or you can kick the tires on Shane Bieber. There you go. Shane Bieber's 29. Yes, he's coming off an injury, so you sign him to a 2-year deal. Year 1 loaded with incentives, and then you, like I said, you put him on a 1-year deal or a 2-year deal with a team option after the first year. That's the guy you kick the tires on. Is Shane Bieber. Again, I agree 110% with what you said, PK, about JV. He's the GOAT. He's everything that he's done in the last 8 years will forever be enshrined in the city of Houston. But stop it. I mean, go ahead, Bros. I know you're going to go.
I was going to say we have 2 World Series rings because of him. I mean, we very, very likely would not have had both those World Series rings if we did not have JV. So, but at the same time, yes, Justin Verlander, I know you're not listening to this podcast, but if you are, go play golf, go hang out with your kid and your hot wife, and that's just leave it at that, buddy. You've already proven your point, and I know you want to pitch to the age of Nolan Ryan of like 46 or whatever. He was a once in a lifetime kind of guy doing that. So it's not for everybody, and you've had a lot of injuries. So let's just ride off into the sunset with your hat held high right now. That's the one thing I don't want to see. I don't want to see Justin Verlander sign a contract with us or anybody else for that matter, and then just go and look like a shell of what we remember him as a pitcher of. So when I saw that, I was like, you got to be kidding me, man.
Yeah.
And not only that, we've already talked about the budget. Don't go spend $44 million on Justin Verlander. If he wants a, $5 million contract for the next 2 years, by all means sign him, but that's not going to happen. And we all know that. So I think we're probably all on the same page in agreement with the way that got dealt with, but we'll see what happens. And please God, Crane, don't sign him to a $44 million contract.
I think so. Like I said, that's when these players get to this in any sport, basketball, football, baseball, whatever. They get towards the back end of their career and they're trying to hang on for as long as they can because they're athletes. They want to compete, and that's what Verlander, I think, that's where he's at. He wants to compete, but his body's breaking down on him. I mean, he had some good outings. He had some really bad outings, but it was on the injury, on the bench for a minute. So yeah, please don't sign him to the $44 million contract. Let's use that money to go, somewhere else where we need it. And because I think our starting pitching depth is okay. It's okay, and it still needs. You can always have more. Always have more pitching. But I don't think you need to focus on bringing Verlander back. And it just kind of is what it is. It's a business, right? So it's a result-based business. So we'll see what happens with that. What else you guys got, man? Anything else? I think we covered quite a bit of most recent news.
Yeah, I just checked my phone. No breaking news. I was hoping maybe we get lucky and get a breaking Black Friday signing. We did not.
Did not? Okay.
No.
Well.
Yeah, I mean that's what we need.
Yeah,
we need like a signing while we're on the podcast. That would be fantastic.
I mean, like I said, there's still a lot of things the Astros can do within their budget. I mean, even if you're setting money aside for Bregman, still go make some moves. I mean, I'd like to see them I'd like to see them go get Arenado, regardless of what they do with Bregman. You put Arenado at first. I don't want to say this, but you could DFA Singleton, right?
I'm okay with that.
And then, I mean, just give us something. Give us something, right? I mean, because again, with the window always being open, I mean, I'm not seeing anything that tells me this window's open. And again, it's just just do something, right? I mean, even if it's trade Fromber for a crap ton of good prospects, I'm okay with that too, right? I mean, because we talked earlier. I mean, you're gonna have to trade one of them, right? I mean, I've read something that the Astros could be entertaining trading Tucker this offseason, which that'd be a pretty bold move, but you would get a haul back because you get a full season of Tucker instead of a month and a half. So it's just a matter of I want to see something of significance. I don't want to see the Astros traded for Taylor Trammell. I don't care about that.
I forgot about that move.
I mean, that's the only move we made outside of cutting a lot of people.
Yeah.
So, I mean, because like Browse was talking about these pitchers that are coming, right? We're looking at July. So that's halfway through the season. If this roster looks like it did last year, right? And that's even if we bring back Bregman. I mean, we are on. We're a shell of what we used to be. We're a team that's going to make the playoffs. As if Texas or Seattle doesn't hand it to us like they did last season, and we're going to be divisional and out. That's what I'm seeing. So
it will be the Brewers.
Basically. Yeah, we would be the Brewers, and this team with the history with what's this team used to be over the last 10 years. I mean, it's going to be sad to see. I mean, I know all good things, have come to an end. Nothing gold can stay, but I'd like to see something, even if it's something small, like they signed Kike Hernandez. I'm good with that.
I would love them to sign Kike, dude. Like,
Yeah,
I
I mean,
really
like,
would.
I think like I've got 4 guys off the top of my head that are probably going to be low costing guys you can bring in just to kind of round out the roster. And if that means releasing Jake, whatever. If that means releasing Chas McCormick, whatever. But I just want to see something over the next couple of days. Something.
Well, here's some former Astro coaching news. We had a coach that lied to us a few years back. Yeah.
What happened? What did he lie about?
Well, he left the team because he wanted to be closer to home.
Talking about Ostrami.
Ostrami. He's in Pittsburgh.
He's going to retire.
He's going to retire.
He's in Pittsburgh?
Yeah.
In Pittsburgh now.
When did that happen?
I don't know, a week or 2 ago?
Yeah.
Oh, I totally missed that.
Yeah.
Oh, and don't forget, we got Billy Wags is up for the Hall of Fame. Let's get this guy in. He deserves to be in.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of run on that too. Like, there's no way this guy should not be.
He just missed it last year, I think. I think he was like 1 or 2 votes. It was something stupid close like that. Like he was 1 or 2 votes away.
What's he going to go in as, you think? Philly or Astros?
Astros, yeah. That's where he spent the majority of his career. I don't count his time with the Braves or the Mets.
Or the Phillies.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He was with the Phillies. Yeah. Okay. No, he needs to go in as an Astro.
He needs to go in as an Astro. I hope he does, man. When are we going to find out?
I think they announced I think it's like mid-January, January 18th.
Okay. So be on the lookout for that, man. I hope the guy that gets in. He was so dirty.
Yeah, he was good. Fun fact about Wagner, he's not left-handed. What happened was I guess he fell out of a tree or something, broke his right arm, so he taught himself how to throw left-handed.
That's pretty badass.
Yeah. I fell out of a tree once. That's it. That's all I have.
I broke my left arm and still throw left-handed.
I did not gain any superpowers by falling out of a tree.
I was not Henry Rowan Gardner from the Rookie of the Year with that. So, no, hopefully Wags gets in, man. It'd be badass. Have another Hall of Famer. So
yeah,
that Stromey thing, man. That kind of was like, well, I guess I get it, man. He's gonna go, coach Skeens. I mean,
it sounds like more to me because, like I said, he said he was going to retire, and then he runs to Arizona. It seems like, I don't know, maybe he knew something was coming and wanted to leave Dodge before shit hit the fan.
Maybe he didn't like. Maybe he didn't like Dusty.
Maybe he did. Well, this was before Dusty because he left after 2019.
Oh, the Hinch. He was with Hinch. Yeah.
So, yeah, we lost him, and that was Cole. That was the Scott Boras cap.
Yeah.
So,
well, I thought it was kind of funny when I saw it. I was like, this motherfucker, man.
Yeah.
Liar.
Yeah. Maybe, he is old. Maybe he just forgot that he was going to retire.
Well, it's okay. We have Scott Miller. What's his name?
Josh Miller.
Josh Miller.
Yeah.
Well, who knows? Maybe they gave him a ton of money. I mean, I can't say no to this contract. So I don't know what he got, but excuse me. Well, but Strom, I mean, he's awesome.
He's a legend.
Yeah, I agree.
And he gets to go work with Skeens, who's,
oh my God, I can't imagine that guy getting better.
That's what I'm saying. Like, how much better can you get, dude? I mean, I'm sure you can, but good God, dude's filthy. Well, cool. That was a good episode, guys. All right, I think we'll start wrapping this thing up here, huh?
Yeah, let's do it.
We got a lot of college football on today. A lot of college football tomorrow. Chris has some Christmas lights to hang.
It's a true story.
I got a few things to do here around the house. Big game tomorrow night, 6:30. Chris is going to be wearing burnt orange. So it's going to be a good weekend, man. I'm glad you guys. It's good to see you guys again. I guess we'll be back to our regularly scheduled episodes starting next week. And guys, y'all got anything before we get out of here?
No, guys. Y'all guys have a fantastic holiday weekend. I hope everybody's Thanksgiving went well. And don't kill anybody trying to buy a TV.
That's a fact. Because, spoiler alert, they're cheap all year long now.
Also, spoiler alert, you can buy the same shit online.
Yeah. And there's also Cyber Monday. So
there you go.
It's coming. Well, guys, thanks everyone for joining in. I'm PK. That's Bryles. That's Chris. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Y'all have a safe weekend.
Hook 'em.
Hook 'em.